Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. We are going to have a great show for you today. We did some rewiring in the office last night. Actually, it was more like 2 this morning. We got it all through, and we think we have all the connections set up appropriately. So what I want to ask all of you today, give us a call at 646-716-5812. Let's make sure that all our rewiring works perfectly, not only for those listening on Facebook, Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube, and everywhere, Twitch, everywhere else. Let's make sure that this is all working. So give me a call, 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. Folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. We actually have a very full show for you today. We have 4 different topics to cover, and we want to cover them all. We want to make sure that all our people get on in. We want to make sure that everybody's here. What happens is I had to adjust it's not that I'm shouting the gain. I made some changes to the gain, etc. And I had to get those adjustments made. So, Lon, if you're there, why don't you tell me if the levels are okay as far as you're concerned on Facebook Live? Why don't you let me know if that is okay? Just drop me another message that you have there, and we will get moving. Anyhow. I want to make sure, let's see if we are on the Coffee Party Network yet. Got to do a little test on that. But we have a whole lot to go through. Let's see, I just got a message here. Let's make sure that all is okay, my friends. Anyhow, we're going to have a wonderful show for you today. We have a video that's going to, I won't say it's going to blow your mind. It's going to show you something about, hey, how these people intend to operate. Anyhow, title of the show today is Privileged Bloomberg, Big Pharma fraud suit, Senator Bennet fumbles, Trump triangulation. I mean, it's a lot of topics today, folks, but we want to cover them all, and we're going to cover them completely. Finally, the government is going after Big Pharma theft. Bennet gets called out on air. Katy Tur, privileged Bloomberg, and Trump is triangulating, folks. I think I wrote a blog at Daily Coats where I explained what Trump was going to do, and I told them, hey, Trump may actually turn out to be doing a lot of things you would expect progressives and Democrats to do, but he's going to do it, and Democrats are going to be timid. They're going to sit down and they're going to say, we can't do it because America that's going to like it. America is not going to like something that's good for them. We always do that. We always underestimate our brothers and sisters. It is something we got to stop doing. Americans are smart. What they think is they think that the folks representing them aren't, and that is why they make the decisions that they make. So anyhow, so that is the case. Continuing with the show, a shockwave occurred this morning in my psyche as I read that the government is suing Big Pharma. I mean, I read that and I had to reread it. Common Dreams, I had to reread it. MSNBC, I had to reread NBC. Oh, wow, it is true. Finally, the government is saying, wait a minute, we researched the product, we invested in the product. You take a $60, a product that they sell for $60 in France, and you sell it here for $20,000, and the government gets zero. And the government used to be the ones. Is that crazy or what? That is what's called capitalism in America. And you know, you'd have Bennet and all these other Democrats coming out there and saying that it's all okay. And they say, oh, well, we'll take care of that. We'll pass individual legislations to solve these individual problems. Have anybody ever heard of Yakimo? You remember Yakimo? Yakimo is that game, you know, something happens, slam, something else happens, slam, something else happens, slam. But ultimately, the reason Yakimo works for the corporation is they have infinite money to try infinite avenues to try things infinitely different. And is that what we want? I don't think so. I genuinely do not think so. So let's get real. Let's see, we're on the Coffee Party Network yet. I think we'll be coming pretty soon into that domain where we are going to get, let me make sure that we are coming on there. Well, they're still not load up there at Coffee Party. Coffee Party, come on, cue Politics Done Right. We're ready to go. Anyhow, let me continue with the program. A shockwave occurred this morning in my psyche as I read that the government is suing Big Pharma, but the news just kept coming. Bloomberg believes the Democratic candidates are just chump change and needs his gravitas. You know, he needs to come in because the field that Democrats say by 80% they are satisfied with. Bloomberg said that is not the field we want. You know, but that shouldn't surprise anybody. 10% of America controls 90% of its wealth. So why would 80% of Democrats thinking they have a good feel be a hindrance to some rich billionaire thinking, oh, you know, that's not right. I mean, it has to be us, the billionaires, who think the field looks the right way. Really? Really? Anyhow, Katy Tur allowed Michael Bennet to hang himself today as he tried to diss Medicare for all and still call himself a transformational leader. I love the way she addressed him, and that is a video of the day. That's a video I'm going to play today. I love the way she addressed him. I thought you said we needed transformational change. How then are you supporting that which you support? That's not transformational change. And then Bennet turned into a bumbling, and I won't use the term, but he bumbled his way into a minute and change of ridiculously incoherent narrative. But you know, he's remaining in the race. Again, he has to, right? The plutocracy needs to have as many people out there saying this stuff isn't going to work, with the expectation that they will convince enough people that this thing is not going to work. But we know better, right? We know better. Let's not be fooled. Let's not get the change. We know better. So I'm going to be coming with that in a little bit. Hey, y'all. How you doing, Bruce? Nice to see you here. Later on after our video, it would be nice if you called in. Let's go ahead and check and make sure all these levels are right after all that rewiring we did in the office. Okay, folks, we are, let's see, on YouTube, folks. I hope you're out there. Those folks who are on YouTube, there's a new thing that, you know, I reached 10,000 users. I'm going to get into the program as soon as we get onto the Coffee Party Network. I got up to 10,000 users over 10,000 users on YouTube, not users, but memberships on YouTube, 10,000 followers on YouTube. It's a milestone. Guess what? We were able to accept what they called, what do they call it? They have a word that they call it there, which is what do they call that thing? I'm going to tell you in a minute what they call that thing. It's like, wow, we have super chats on Facebook. If you like the program, if you like what you're hearing, you can give us a super chat on YouTube. You can say, hey, Egberto, I want to put my message on the top of the queue. Boom! Super chat. I'll super chat you. So we have Super Chat on now that we're at 10,000 followers on YouTube. There's so much more that we can do. Folks, if you're just starting with us, please remember, share these programs. It is imperative that other people know that we are out there. It is imperative that we know what we're doing. It is imperative that we make a difference. So please share the program. I'm about to do so as well. And then we're going to get deep into el programa. So let me go ahead and share this stuff to a couple groups now that we're on. And as soon as I get that done, we will be here in full vogue. Let's take it there. Let's take it there. You know what? Let's also put it on to right there. Good. All right, folks, let's get busy. Here we go. Today, Michael Bennet appeared on MSNBC with Katy Tur. Katy Tur, you can't play ball with Katy Tur. She knows her stuff. She's a woman who worked with Oberman at some time. All right? Listen to this interview and, let me set it up. Michael Bennet likes to go out there and talk about all these other candidates that want Medicare for all are wrong. All these other candidates that want the Green New Deal. All these other candidates that want things that will help the American citizens. They are all wrong. But then he wants to call himself a transformational president. He's saying the democracy has failed. It's not working. He's going to be a transformational president. Well, Katy Tur decided to call him out on that. Check this out.
An answer for that, which is we already have an existing healthcare system. And
I don't want to check it out that way. What I want to do is I want to get it started from the beginning. That is imperative. Okay, let's go ahead and get that started from the beginning. Here we go.
It seems like you're saying that the democracy that we are currently living in, it doesn't work, it's broken, which calls for foundational change. But you're not a foundational change candidate. Why are you not a candidate calling for Medicare for all, like some of the other candidates? Why are you not a candidate coming out there and saying we need to fix Washington, and in order to fix it, we've got to change it from the ground up? Why are you still so in the moderate wing?
I do believe that. I actually believe I'm more of a foundational candidate than the ones that are offering Medicare for all, because I know that's just an empty promise. It's just an empty promise.
Why can't Canada have it? Why can't UK have it? Why can't we have it?
It is different from what we have, from what Bernie Sanders' bill is to begin with, but there's an answer for that, which is we already have an existing healthcare system. And we can decide that we're going to spend the next 10 years fighting a losing battle for Medicare for all, or we can fight to restore economic opportunity for people. We can fight on the climate front, and we can lead the foundational change you're talking about. I'm the only person in this race who has said that if I'm elected president, I will go to every one of 50 states to lead an effort to pass a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. That is foundational change. I believe we need to end partisan gerrymandering in this country. That is foundational change. I believe we need to do so much more to ensure that every single person in every single election has the right to vote. What I don't believe is that if we put out a half-baked plan called Medicare for All that's not even paid for, and that if it were paid for, would cost the same amount of revenue as 70% of all the revenue the federal government will collect over the next 10 years without dealing with the foundational stuff that you're talking about, then it is an empty promise. And it's just politicians trying to galvanize their base, politicians trying to create greater division, instead of, in a very clear-eyed way, looking forward to saying, how are we going to dig our way out of the mess that we're in right now? Because it is a mess, and it's not just Trump. He's a symptom of our problems, not the essential cause, in my view.
Senator,
he certainly has made matters much worse.
Let's sit down and have this conversation in a longer format sometime.
Notice how fast he got off for Medicare for all, right? Remember, these guys are all paid by the corporatocracy. These guys are nothing more than corporate hacks. And I already placed him on our failed Democrat site for being somebody who is talking against Medicare for all, but doesn't have a way to tell Americans that you're not going to be faced with a $6,000 deductible before you can even use your insurance. You're not going to have all these co-pays before you can use your insurance. You're not going to have all these doctors that come in to see you just to collect some extra money from you. They're not going to fail. It's not going to happen with that. You go in for I want to tell folks this. There are a lot, and it's starting to happen to a lot of women right now. And I want to call this out quickly so that women who are going for those mammograms understand what's going on here, because I'm going to digress from the show a little bit to say that. But welcome aboard, Just Me on YouTube. Welcome aboard, Wamaka Okobi on Medicare for All. Yeah, you're right. He's the male Klobuchar. Now, here's women are going in for their mammograms. You know, according to the Affordable Care Act, and this is where we want, they're saying, do you want to scrap the Affordable Care Act? We work so hard to do that, and you don't want to do that. Well, look, the way the insurance companies helped write the Affordable Care Act was so that they could continue to screw Americans. And let me give you another thing. Oh, the Affordable Care Act now says you can go in for your yearly physicals. Excellent, excellent. That was a wonderful idea. But here's what happens now. The way the law was written, you go in to get a wellness physical. If you come out of that physical well the very first time, it is all perfect. You got your well physical, so everybody kind of loves it. And then, if you're a woman who has what they call dense breast, okay? There are usually a lot of false positives, or the machine that does mammogram cannot accurately tell that, so they have to do further sonograms on your breast. They don't tell you when you go back to do the sonogram on your breast that it's going to be charged. So a lot of women now, they go for their well woman's test. It comes out with a dense breast, so they have to take the sonogram test. And what happens? They get socked with a $300 to a $900 bill, some over $1,000 bill, because they went for their wellness check and had to have the sonogram. They are charged for that. There are a lot of issues within the Affordable Care Act because it was written, again, by Democratic hacks owned by the insurance companies that have all those loopholes in there that allow the insurance company to continue to bill for you. Again, they have the doctors that come in and they give the test, and another doctor walks in who's out of network, and that gives the insurance company an excuse to say, oh, I'm not going to pay that because that is out of network. Read your contract. It only covers in network. There are a whole lot of things. The only way around this is to wipe that whole damn thing out and establish Medicare for all, which we all pool into one pool, and it's a lot cheaper. It's a known fact. I mean, a lot of people are saying, okay, why don't we just do this incrementally? We could do it incrementally, and it would be less disruptive if we do it incrementally. But let me tell you, right now it's pretty damn disruptive. Right now it's pretty damn disruptive. I'm getting into the other topic in a minute, but I want to read something to you that I just picked up off of Common Dreams. This is the title of the Common Dreams article. Study. At least 15,600 premature deaths resulted from GOP blocking Medicaid expansion. In other words, the GOP, those states that block Medicaid expansion, the GOP politicians that are blocking that, we have in effect 15,600 murders every year by these particular politicians. And I know many people just call it an ideological issue, right? Oh, they don't want that. It's ideological. It's not ideological. What we have is murder by politician. Murder by politician. If we don't start using the graphic terms that describe what's happening, murder is somebody that voluntarily kills somebody, voluntarily removes lives from somebody, voluntarily kills them. It's murder. So there are politicians that are murdering its citizens. Okay? So let's not fuddle about it. And let's not allow the Democrats who don't support Medicare for all to get away with it. What we need to talk about is ask them at the next debate, are you willing, Democratic presidential candidate to murder several citizens by having these very high deductibles that prevents them from going to the doctor. I know several people who won't go because of the high deductibles. Okay? So, subject at hand. Big Pharma, Truvada. Truvada is a pill that's given, 1 million people would benefit from Truvada here in the United States. Why? It's a pill that you give high-risk people that are at high risk to get the AIDS virus. It genuinely prevents them from getting the AIDS virus, 99% preventative. And for people who think it's so, well, you know, just don't do sex or what. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to get AIDS. Some you can get it from a bad transfusion. You can, you know, there are a lot of ways that you can get AIDS that has nothing to do with what others would call some sort of immoral behavior or promiscuous behavior or whatever. There are a lot of ways to get it. So there's a drug that for people that are on higher risk to get it, you know, maybe if you're working with a whole lot of people with AIDS and you're giving them injections and all that kind of stuff, or a problem with needles or whatever, you may want to take that drug. Well, in the United States, Truvada, put out by Gilead, Truvada is a drug that was pretty much researched by the United States of America, your tax dollars. Well, they decided to somehow, like they always do, take over the drug. And when they took over the drug, they started that. By the way, that drug is sold in the rest of the world for under $60 a month. In the United States, it is $20,000 a year. $20,000 a year. I want you to absorb that. That is a kind of obscenity that occurs in our healthcare system today. For a drug that was developed by the United States government, in other words, these two drugs were researched together, and that's what occurred. So that is what we have as the blog of the week. So, folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, this is so disconcerting, but it's so, I am so happy. This is once where we have to give Donald Trump credit, right? It's his administration, the first one to file suit against something saying, we developed this, why the hell are we allowing folks to pay $20,000 for this? So here it goes. Finally, this is the title. Finally. Government suing one Big Pharma fraud. $60 AIDS drug sold for $20,000. Many progressive bloggers covered this story a few months ago. Big Pharma steals our tax dollars as we do the research on drugs, and they profit hugely without giving back. Your tax dollars developed a drug cocktail that is 99% effective in preventive AIDS. Gilead found the standard method corporations collude with the government to rip us all off. They found the standard method to do that. Well, it seems like the government is acting. The New York Times reports the following. After years of prodding by patient advocates, federal officials on Wednesday sued the drug maker Gilead Sciences, charging that it had infringed government patents on the idea of preventing HIV with a daily pill. The suit by the Department of Health and Human Services came as a pleasant shock to many critics of the company, including Democratic members of Congress who had pressed the administration to act. You know, a lot of times I ask the questions, why hadn't they acted before? It is very rare for the government to take on a drug maker over patents, but the medications made by Gilead are necessary to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030, which the Trump administration has set as a goal. That cannot be accomplished if the drugs are not made more affordable. You know, we don't even need to talk about drugs being made more affordable. Why the hell are we charging this amount for the drug? We should be charging as little as possible. This is a national security issue. But, you know, the corporate state, let the corporations pill for the people. We don't want to pay the tax to the government treasurer, which can build highways and freeways, but we don't mind giving the drug companies the patent rights to use drugs that we develop, sell them, make a killing in the way they charge us, and we don't want to call that a tax. We call it, hey, that's just free enterprise. I mean, not free enterprise, that's just capitalism. And they pilfer you, they take you for everything you're worth. I wrote about this in a blog post highlighting a riveting exchange between CEO of Gilead and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at a congressional hearing. It also explains how Gilead got the drug. All right? According to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the AIDS drug Truvada costs $8 in Australia and almost $2,000 in the United States per month. You hear what I just said? $8 a month in Australia, $8 a month in Australia for the drug. In the United States, $2,000 a month in the United States. As noted by this Republican congressman, the GOP machine makes a mistake by engaging AOC because she is smart and always prepared at hearings. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez first confirmed the drug pricing in the hearing. She then castigated the Gilead Sciences CEO. I think it's important here that we notice what we, the public, we, the people, developed this drug. We paid for this drug. We led and developed all the patents to create, prep, and then that patent has been privatized despite the fact that the patent is owned by the public who refuse to enforce it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, there is no reason this should be $2,000 a month. People are dying because of it, and there is no enforceable reason for it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this has been happening for some time. We had all those powerful centrist Democrats in Congress. Nobody talking about that. Nobody protecting the interests of the people being murdered by the drug companies, the people being murdered by the insurance company, the people being murdered by the GOP with their refusal to give people health care. The New York Times further reported the following. It illustrates the Gilead's Big Pharma's fraud. That's all you can call this, fraud. PrEP is a drug regimen. A person at risk of contracting HIV is prescribed one of two drugs to be taken in pill form once daily to prevent the infection. Both of the drugs approved for use in this regimen, Truvada and Descovy, are made by Gilead. If taken daily, the drugs cut the risk of HIV infection by more than 99%. Public health officials are eager to get more people on PrEP, and the Trump administration in February announced an enormous effort to get the drugs to people in high-risk communities. Wow, Trump's doing a good thing. About 1 million Americans are at risk of getting HIV through sex or shared needles and would benefit from PrEP, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But just 270,000 Americans are on PrEP, and there are about 40,000 new infections each year. The price has been an obstacle, critics say. Truvada, which will come off patent next year, has cost about $20,000 per patient per year in recent years. Descovy currently costs about the same in other countries. Generic versions of Truvada sell for as little as $60. $60. Think about that, folks. $60. So, let's see. Let me see. That's the end of the blog. Actually, no, that's not the end of the blog. I still have a little piece to read on that. It is surprising that this suit is occurring under the Trump administration. Of course, we do not know how he will ultimately resolve it. We know Donald Trump is transactional. Will Gilead bribe him for a few $100 million and he finds a way to get out of it and then make an excuse for it? I don't know. But we know that the guy is not a billionaire, and if somebody can find a way to give him a few $100 million, he'll find a way to take that money. So I don't know. All I know is right now what he's doing is a good thing. If it turns out to be a bad thing, I'll be here to say it's a bad thing as well. But what Trump is doing with Gilead is something that should have been done years ago. Years ago. Years ago. We should have neutered these guys long time ago. Trump is doing it. But the one thing we know is that Trump knows how to triangulate. You know, I mean, he may be using this as a test case and it's going to get something done here. I mean, I don't know. But I know he knows how to triangulate. Guess where he's at today? Today he's talking to a whole lot of black people in Atlanta. Black Republicans and others are out there listening to him, and he's making a case. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on, because people are of the false belief that because Donald Trump is an outward racist, that somehow that means black people won't vote for him. I need to talk to you guys a little bit about that. Trump knows how to triangulate. He just needs to skim a little from each interest group, and this may just be that. And remember, Trump can lose the popular vote by over 10 million people and still win. Remember what I said yesterday. We are going to win by a landslide. We're going to win everywhere else, but we can lose the presidency. Winning everywhere. We can win the Senate. We can win all these things and still lose the election. So we better be careful on how we do things here. But anyway, he's an expert in triangulation. Well, he's not the expert, his people are. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to YouTube and get some of this, answer some of these things on YouTube. And by the way, since I've crossed 10,000 on YouTube, folks, feel free to go ahead and give me a super chat. Check it out. Super chat me. Anyhow, gets you to the top. You need to talk about, this is what Wamaka Okobi wants me to talk about. He says, you need to talk about the fact that Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All plan was co-written by Andy Slavitt, who owns Health Allies with Amelia Warren. Health Allies is owned by United Healthcare. Look, somebody else told me something similar, and let me tell you how I want to explain that. Let's assume that these guys have written this United Healthcare thing as some sort of a backdoor to get involved. It isn't something that can occur under the radar. We have Elizabeth Warren on the record stating that the Medicare plan and the Medicare coverage that we're talking about is pretty much what we are going to be having with Bernie Sanders. So let's start there as the baseline, Mr. Okobi. Let's start there. What we need to do then is hold her feet to the fire. And I'm going to answer it a little further, because I noticed you said further down, I am a pharmacist and I see the price gouging. Exactly. I know you do. And what we need are people like you, the pharmacists and the experts in healthcare, so that when they start to create, you know how they pulled one over Obama with this, the yearly exam and all these other things that it seemed like a good idea. It is a good idea until your exam needs a little bit further test. And then it's a lousy idea because you can get socked with it. Let me give a good example. Let's say you go in for your mammogram again. You have dense breasts, right? And it showed a little irregularity, and you go ahead and you get your sonogram, and the irregularity is just that you have dense breasts and your muscle is tight or whatever. Check that out. Now, absent, and you're okay. Absent Obamacare, which gives you a free yearly exam, you may have foregone that exam because you test your breasts regularly and you saw no material change in your feeling. You should still go get the mammogram, but maybe you did not. Your economic situation would have been much better than under Obamacare that says, hey, I got a free mammogram, let me just go make sure, and you come out owing a whole lot of money with absolutely no health consequences. You see what I'm saying? That is the way our laws, how poorly our laws are written. One, it means that it prevents you from wanting to go do what you should do. But two, it leaves your economy in a worse state, even though it need not had been. So those are the things that we have to take a look at. Okay, Bruce, if it goes generic next year, I wonder how the price will change. Let me tell you what they're going to do, Bruce. They did it with Claritin. Claritin became Clarinex, and then they encouraged the doctors to prescribe Clarinex as opposed to Claritin because Claritin was off patent. You can buy Claritin in Sam's or Costco for almost pennies on the dollar, but you go to Clarinex, it costs you quite a bit more. Okay, we have Just Me. Hey, Just Me was our feature yesterday, people. Just Me wrote an answer to one of my videos on YouTube, and he said, "I promise I'll never write you another long message again." Brother, Just Me, I'm assuming you're a guy. You can write as long as responses you want on our Facebook pages, on our YouTube pages. I love the interaction with all our people. And you guys, as you can see, you were instrumental in the show yesterday. Okay, Just Me says, Gilead generated global Truvada sales of nearly $3 billion last year, of which, of course, $2.6 billion came from the United States, even though they serve many more people all over the world. Think about that. That is how our government allows our drug companies to steal from you, while the governments of the other countries around the world protect their own. The countries around the world that have better health care, better outcomes, people live longer, kids die less, all these things are occurring in those other countries around the world. And you see, Gilead made only $400 million out of them, but they made $2.6 billion out of us, a smaller amount of people that are sicker and everything. You should ask yourself, why do we have a country that have people like Senator Bennet who are there to hurt you by not being your protector as your government, we the people? Think about that. Thank you for that information, Just Me. I think that's also in the article that we did with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okobi says, even when drugs go generic, the brand manufacturer usually has an agreement with the generic company, so they keep their prices high, or the generic company is owned by the brand company. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is from our pharmacists online, folks. So, Kobe, that is a shame. I tell you what, I didn't quite realize that I thought that's called collusion, but I could be wrong. I thought that was actually illegal to do that, Okobi, but maybe you know something I don't. Lawrence Sims says, Donald will be petitioning the Supreme Court 11-13-19 to roll civil rights legislation back past 1865. I think that has to do with the lawsuit. I think that has to do with the lawsuit with the TV station, Byron, or I don't remember his name, who's trying to get a TV station and he's suing the government, or rather he's suing whatever the name of the TV conglomerate. And in suing the conglomerate, the item that he's using, if he loses a suit, you're absolutely right, it could roll it back to 1865. I don't think he stands a rat's, of losing that suit. And I think they're going to try to settle, but we'll see. We have an interest in Supreme Court, but we'll see. Okobi says, I've also worked for SilverScript Medicare Part D. Medicare, I'm coming to your phone, and give me 2 seconds. I think we got it all fixed as well. As we know, it can involve private insurance with Medicare Advantage. It's about what Elizabeth Warren is not saying as well. And Kobe, please enlighten me. That's what these shows are for. So enlighten me as to what it is that Elizabeth Warren is not saying, so that we can make sure to bring that up. And in fact, I'm trying to get an interview with her. Okay, line number 1. Come on in, telephone. I'm pretty sure we're working now. Come on in. Can you hear me?
Berto!
Tell me you can hear me now.
Can you hear? Yeah, I can hear you finally. My goodness, how are you?
I am doing fine. I think you're saturated. Let me go ahead and turn you down some. I think the people are going to be screaming at me if I don't turn you down. Go ahead, keep talking.
I just wanted to say that one of the more interesting things that Trump has done as a president is to gut the FDA. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying he didn't have problems prior to Trump being in place, but every issue now is just going to be made worse. And so this issue with Truvada is a perfect example of why gutting the FDA has tremendous consequences. Because at the end of the day, like what you're really talking about is, do we want fair market value or do we want price fixing?
In healthcare,
and really,
let me tell you, in healthcare, I do not want what they call fair market value, because fair market value is dependent on another concept known as whatever the market will bear. Okay? And if you believe in whatever the market will bear, then that's fair market value, right? And fair market, I don't think for healthcare we should be in that domain. That is my ideology. My ideology is, I think fair market value should apply to other things that other things that are not essential. Because what it does then is it discriminates against that person who was born inherently unhealthy, was born with a genetic disease, all these things, all those kinds of things means that it puts a scarlet letter on some Americans while others have free will. That's all. So for me, healthcare shouldn't be fair market value.
But are we really surprised that this is happening? Because when you look at the rates of infection, you see that, once again, black people are disproportionately being affected and infected by HIV.
I think you're making my point.
And so in some ways...
You are making my point.
Right, and so in some ways what you're seeing with these companies is the tradition in America to exploit black Americans. And in so many ways, this issue with Truvada is really just another exploitation of black people by the corporate plutocracy.
Now, I can
and
see,
it's unfortunate.
Johnny, I can see that case easily. I can easily make that case. A lot of people are going to think you're flying over the hill for saying that, but I can make that case for several reasons that I don't have the time to make right now. But you are absolutely right about that. But that said, that is why you're making my point about fair market value and drugs. Fair market values and drugs do not belong on the same line at all, in my opinion.
Absolutely not. And in fact, and then I would argue to you that this is one of the issues why we need the government to step in and set the marketplace, because ultimately, in my opinion, the role of the government is to determine who are the winners and losers. And so this is one of those issues. Healthcare, even in the healthcare sector, you have to actually make a determination who is going to win and who is going to lose. And so right now we kind of have a healthcare system set up to punish people with pre-existing conditions.
Exactly.
So our government has determined those people are the ones that are going to lose.
Exactly.
As opposed to creating a paradigm where that wasn't the case. And it's really interesting because I've often made the argument that healthcare is actually, not only is it a right, but this notion of healthcare, like, what good are all the other rights in the Constitution if you're not healthy?
You know something, Johnny? That's prescient, and you're so right about that. And that's what a whole lot of people, when Obama dropped everything and decided that he wanted to handle health care. Hey, thank you for chiming in on the show, Michael Dean Newton. Appreciate the good kudos. And Lawrence, Just Me, love you all. Love all you guys for being here. All you guys on YouTube, I just want to thank you guys for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We crossed 10,000, which opens us up to do a whole lot of new things, including Super Chat. So Super Chat me, folks. But anyhow, you're so right, Johnny. You're absolutely and so right about that.
And then I'd just like to say something to my Republicans out there. I would just like to say to them that, we're paying for these trade wars. Mm-hmm. Under Trump, we're paying for these trade wars. If I'm going to pay for something, I'd rather pay for health care and education for my fellow citizens. You know what I mean?
So.
Like, why am I paying to build a wall? Why am I paying farm subsidies?
Right.
And why am I paying for tax breaks for the wealthy? If I get to choose what I'm going to pay for, I'd rather pay for health care and education for my fellow citizens if I had to choose. Because and it's so interesting that when you talk to Republicans, they flip it. They don't want to pay for health care and education, but yet for some reason they're okay with farm subsidies and tax breaks for the uber wealthy. And let's build a useless wall.
Johnny, guess what? I got another... Dr. Johnny. And folks, John is a doctor. So, I mean, today I have a pharmacist, I have a doctor, I have engineers, I have the works today. I have a secretary. Hey, this is great. I have the United States of America. But hey, Johnny, I have to get on to my fourth subject. I promised four subjects today. And then I have to ask Brother Pollard to put some information either in the chat room or come on and tell us a little bit about what's happening with the environmental forum today. But yeah, so thank you so kindly for calling, Dr. Johnny. I missed hearing from you for a few weeks now, but you always had some color to our show with your verbiage, my dear brother.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, my friend. All right, folks. So look, thank you so kindly for being here. The phone system, I had to do a whole lot of rewiring yesterday because it seems like when they changed our production thing that a whole lot of stuff changed and we had to come in. Okay, I got another call. Come on in, 734. Come on in.
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Hey, Egberto, it's Anand.
Anand, talk to me, brother.
Well, I just did some data crunching. You know, you've been posting my election ideas for Texas and the numbers, and I just came across some new numbers.
Did you blog it yet so that I can reblog it?
No, I haven't. I just finished playing with the November 2019 election data from the Secretary of State.
Tell me what
and
you
I found something extremely interesting.
Tell me.
So the registration numbers since last year have gone from 15.7 million to 15.9 million in Texas.
200,000 increase.
That's it. No, but that's not the interesting part.
Okay.
What nobody looks at is how many registrations were suspended.
How many?
Suspensions have gone from 1.8 million to 1.2 million, so it's decreased.
What does that mean?
There's 800,000 more non-suspended registrations in Texas than there was in November 2018.
Again, my question is, what does that mean?
That means there's potentially 800,000 more voters compared to last year.
I know, but I guess what I'm asking is, do we know what kind of voters those are? Because you could still have some shenanigans if it is known that those voters are a particular party, especially since who is in leadership right now.
No, because in Texas we don't have registration by party. But since 2004, every additional voter in Texas has an 67 to 80% chance of being a Democrat. Only 6 to 10% voters since 2004 have been Republican voters.
And how do you explain? How would you explain the reduction in denying registrations? Are they being done better because we have better voter registrars?
I think more people voted. This is the highest odd-year voter turnout in Texas in many years.
Okay.
So people are using their voter registrations. So even though the total number hasn't increased much, the people using their voters' registration has gone up, which means So what you normally do is when you look at the Secretary of State's website, they say between 58 and 59% of registered voters in Texas vote. But if you look at the non-suspended, and I just calculated because there's no number, it's 67 to 69% of people vote.
Great. And Bruce Bruce Pollard also says that's because we're getting out there and getting everyone to verify their registration or re-register. So it's a combination of all these things, including what you're saying there, that people are actually using your vote, as he says, as they're getting out there. Yeah. Yes.
So that means since Hillary Clinton only lost the state by 900,000, it's going to be very close next year. It's going to be closer than I thought. I think the tipping point will be about 10 million voters in Texas. If 10 million people vote in Texas, I think Donald Trump could lose.
And guess what? We're going to do it. Anna, I need to go to another call because I also have one more subject to cover. So look, thank you so kindly for calling in as usual, my brother. And let's stay in touch. I hope you come into town soon. We can go have some coffee or something.
Okay, then talk to you later.
Take care, buddy. All right, let's go to 832. Come on in, 832. Oh, I hung up by mistake. 832, call back real quickly. I hung up by mistake. Call me back. Anyhow, while I get 832 back on the line, let's go ahead and talk about what I want to talk about, and then 832 will be back on. Sorry about that, 832. I accidentally hit the X instead of the microphone. Anyhow, let's go ahead and talk. 832, please call back. 832, please call back. Let's see. Just Me says people should understand if they aren't voting, they're invisible, and that's true. I won't make the mistake this time. 832, you are on.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Hey, this is Bruce Pollard.
Hey, Bruce.
I was just gonna, I was just calling in to make sure that everybody knew that there was going to be an environmental justice forum with a number of candidates, including some of our favorites. It's going to start at 5 o'clock. If you watch Democracy Now!, it's on their website, but it's also on a lot of TV stations. It's a fairly big thing. It's held at a campus in South Carolina, one where, unfortunately, there was a massacre of people who were trying to get some civil rights. So there's some history there that we're trying to put behind us and trying to solve some things with the environment. The big problem that I have these days is that the environment is tightly linked to health, and if we don't get our environment right with all these lead issues and all the other things that are things that we can do something about, the health costs are going to go up no matter how we're funding them.
That is so true, Bruce. And let me just tell our folks here online and everywhere else. Bruce is an activist here in town, in Houston, doing his part however he can, answering phones at KPFT, donating to KPFT, Politics Done Right, and all these other places. Let me tell you something. We have a lot of good people out there doing a hell of a lot of good work. Bruce, you're one of those great folks out there, just doing it. So keep up the good work, brother.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and it's everybody's responsibility to try and work together to get everybody to have a good life and make things good for themselves and everybody else.
Absolutely. So thank you so kindly, my friend. You have a wonderful day, and let me try to fit in the next 4 minutes with this last topic. Have a good one. All right, folks. Last topic is El Señor Bloomberg. When you want to talk about the heights of privilege, all you have to look at is this man looking at a field of Democrats. He hates Donald Trump. He wants Donald Trump gone. We all want Donald Trump gone. That is a fact. But you have this one billionaire in the United States of America who is looking at, you don't have to like all the Democratic candidates. God knows I only like two. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And I like I said, I'm listening to everybody, and I could turn out liking more if they promise policies that are progressive and will move America forward, would move the middle class forward, would move the poor forward. I would be more than happy to add others to my list. But the height of privilege for a person to come out and say, I am looking at the field of 20 candidates or however many we have now, and none of them are good enough to be president of the United States. So I, the billionaire who made my money on software, who made my money on a financial system, who made my money on news, who really done nothing material to make this country a better place. Of course, I'm a philanthropic guy now. I give a lot of money away. So I have the right to say, I know better. I don't have to go and talk to the individual people in America in the town halls. I don't have to go around and really ask for people's votes. I don't have to go around and say, what exactly do you guys want? All I say is, you must want this. You must want centrism. You must want moderates. That's what you must want. So therefore, I will change the message. I will pay to change the message, to make you believe that those people that are looking for health care for everybody, those people that are looking for forgiveness of student loans, those people that are looking for tuition-free college, those people that are looking for tuition pay it forward college. I don't call it tuition-free college. I call it pay it forward tuition, because you educate me. My taxes later on, my increased taxes later on will educate your kid and others. Nothing is free. And those of us that are progressives, we don't want anything for free. What we do want is equal access to success. We want to ensure that somebody who is born to a crackhead has the same opportunity to succeed with their own mind as somebody who is born to the loins of Michael Bloomberg. That's what progressives say. That's what real progressives mean. We want equal access to success, not equal outcomes. We don't want somebody that decides they want to be a bum all day long to live the same life as somebody who wants to work 16 hours a day. That's not what we're asking for. What we do want is, if that crackhead kid has the potential and they have the drive and they want to succeed, that it isn't going to be society who holds them back, but society who gives them a helping hand, realizing that their success means the success of those who come after them. That's all progressiveness means. In order to have those people who call, and I'm talking now about the average American citizen that call themselves conservatives, in order to have them believe that what we who know we're progressives want, they have to lie to them. They have to cheat them of their head. They have to make believe they're dumb. They have to have them ignore math. They have to do all these things, and the Powell Manifesto laid it out, and they do that. So my ode to everybody is one thing. Be boldly progressive. As these charlatans come into the race, as Bloomberg comes in, I hope, I know I don't have a problem. I know Brother Bernie is going to handle him perfectly. I hope Elizabeth Warren does not handle him the way she handled Bill Gates by, in as much as I kind of took a turn. I'm double talking here because I said I liked the way she handled him yesterday. And then I went ahead and reread a few things and said, but she needed to be less apologetic. She needed to have used the words that many of us use, that wealth was built on the backs of millions. That wealth that Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, Jeff Bezos, their intellect didn't build that wealth. Capitalism built that wealth for them. They were able to play the capitalism game, and they were the chosen within the capitalist structure. Remember yesterday we spoke about the chosen versus everybody else? You're in and I remember that video that I showed you a few days ago with the people in corporate America who, when the boss chose them out of the fold, they then became the people ready to oppress as well to maintain their position. That is what this economy breeds, as opposed to being an egalitarian economy that understands how we can all succeed based on how much each of us want to put in to succeed, as opposed to having to be chosen to succeed. America is not a meritocracy. America, even people that work hard and say, I worked so hard, I burned the midnight oil and I made it. The boss saw the work that I was doing and he chose me because of the work that I was doing. But think about the hundreds of thousands of people that work hard with that same expectation that never get it. Think about all those people that are out there thinking, I can make it too. I am going to work my ass off. They never make it. Because it's not a meritocracy. It is a plutocracy based on being chosen into the fold. I choose you to make it. People say, Egberto, you did very well with Willie's Computer Software Company, and you did well when you had that company. Yes, I did. I was chosen. Don't you see that there was Willie's Computer Software Company that did serial communication software? There was Greenleaf. There was Amadal. There were all these other companies that did those things, right? And I was chosen. Boeing chose my software for their testing equipment. NASA chose it for other things. chosen. People say, oh, was yours the best software? Sometimes it was the best software, maybe not all the times. But there is an argument to be made. I remember when I started selling licenses for the software, and I said, oh, I can charge whatever I want. Till I realized that charging whatever I want meant that it wasn't Boeing who was going to pay that price. I could charge whatever the market could bear. That's what I could charge. But ultimately, whatever the market can bear puts that price on the person down below. And if you are willing to abstract yourself for what your deeds do down the chain, I don't know, folks. But anyhow, we're at the end. I'm about 2 minutes over. My name is Egberto Willis. Folks, please remember to go to politicsdoneright.com. Please go to politicsdoneright.com. I'm going to put that on the screen right now. Go to that website there. Please support, be subscribers of Politics Done Right. Let's keep getting these messages out, because it's not going to be easy, and things are going to get a hell of a lot worse before they get better. And they will only get better if we have an educated population who knows what's going on, if we have an educated population who are not snowed by all these people that attempt to snow folk. That is how we are going to do better. I don't have any super chats right now to thank, but folks, let me tell you, please go to politicsdoneright.com, support the program, subscribe to the program. We give you truth for next to nothing. People pay hundreds for cable who lie to them. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.